Hello, everybody. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, giving me just a little slice of your day. You know that I appreciate you. So much to talk about today. Nick Saban can say basically whatever he wants, and we'll believe it. And he's manipulating us. I mean, that's just a fact. Okay, Nick Saban doesn't just say stuff to just say it. So we're going to talk about what it was that he said. That, I mean, because come on, dude, who are you fooling? And then we've got some other news, just some general news. A high school student who is not who he first appears to be, and more. So we'll talk about all those things today. There's a lot to talk about today. It's pretty crazy. Also, Texas A&M, I really like their defense. I think they've got a fantastic defense. And this is good news for Kevin Sumlin, whose job is on the hottest of seats. Kevin Sumlin, what can he do to save his job over there in Aggie Town? So we'll get into all of that. But before we jump into any of that, platforms, I'd like to talk to you about how you can reach us and how we can reach you. Okay? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the usual suspects. Those are the places you can find us. We post the latest and breaking news, especially local Chattanooga news, and we interact. We are interactive here at Hot News Talk Radio. This is not a one-way street. Okay? If you'd like to listen to our shows, both the ones streaming live and our classic episodes, we never call them old, you can check us out on YouTube. We stream all of our local shows every single day. All righty. And you can check us out on hotnewstalkradio.com, as well as the TuneIn Radio app. Find it in your favorite app store. Search Hot News Talk Radio, give us a favorite, and press play, and you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So, one of the stories today I like to talk about, it's about people who control the media. And it's not a conspiracy story, right? It's not something that's got multiple layers. I don't have a giant board in my room where I've got all the red yarn pointing in the different directions. But there are people that control the media, right? I have people who are capable of controlling me. And by that, I mean coaches, general managers, people who run the NBA, run the NFL, run college football, and they control the media by using misinformation. They control the media by putting out information that we all believe. Or, in the case of Nick Saban, just yelling at us. Nick Saban will just yell at the media to let everybody know who's in charge. Okay? Like, Nick Saban is not a guy that's just bumbling over his words. He doesn't have a temper problem. He's not mindlessly yelling at everyone. Nick Saban knows to yell at people just so that we know where the line is. And we fall for it every single time. Okay? So Nick Saban is one of those guys, right? Like Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, LeBron James, and everybody's got their own way of being a puppet master. Greg Popovich is a puppet master because he's grouchy. Just his grouchiness and his demeanor as a member of the media, he's terrifying to approach. You know that you're not going to get anything from him. And he's wittier than you are. And he's grumpier than you. So it controls what you think you can ask Greg Popovich. Pat Riley is similar. He's got more of that Godfather. You barely ever see him. There's more of an aura around him. Pat Riley is more myth than anything. Like, you just don't know what it is you can even say to Pat Riley. He's legendary. He's done it as a coach. He's done it as a player. He's done it as a general manager. There's nothing left to learn about Pat Riley and his greatness. So there's the aura around him keeps you from stepping across lines. LeBron James is another puppet master, right? LeBron James is basically the GM of the Cavs. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what LeBron says on the issue. He's the GM. He's the GM. If LeBron wants a guy, they get a guy. LeBron wanted Tristan Thompson. They got Tristan Thompson. LeBron James is a puppet master. He's a passive-aggressive puppet master. He works it however he wants to, but he's a puppet master. LeBron James wanted Tyronn Lue to be the head coach of that basketball team, and 20 or so games into the season, David Blatt's gone, and Tyronn Lue's the head coach of that basketball team. Okay, it's hard to argue with the track record of we know what LeBron James wants, and LeBron James seems to keep getting whatever it is that he wants. Dude's a puppet master, okay? I'm not even using that as an insult. It's not an insult if you have control over your particular arena and the information that travels through it. LeBron James is possibly the greatest puppet master that we've had from the player position ever, because he's not the guy with the power. He's next to the guy with the power, which really means that he has all the power. LeBron James is somehow, not unlike Les Miles, entirely unfireable in every way. Because in what capacity are you firing LeBron? As the GM, as the coach, or as the player? Because you can't do either. You can't do any of the above. And Nick Saban is a puppet master, I think, through some combination of all three. I think he does a really good job of being all of those. Nick Saban can be passive-aggressive, not really get to the point, not really say the thing that you know that he means to say. Really good at using subtext. He's got the aura about him because, again, he's put together possibly the greatest dynasty in college football. You could argue Nick Saban above Bear Bryant at this point as the greatest Alabama football coach. You really could. So just in terms of being the legend, having that myth around him, Nick Saban's got that. And is Nick Saban grouchy? Oh, boy. Oh, boy, is Nick Saban grouchy. Of course he is. Nick Saban might be one of the grouchiest people in sports right now. Greg Popovich is still actively coaching, and Nick Saban is right up there in grouchiness level. Like, it's close. It's an actual competition I would love to see rated. Okay? Because it is darn close between Nick Saban and Greg Popovich in terms of who I want to see in a grouch battle. Oh, man. And I might take Saban. It's possible. But the media writes whatever Nick Saban wants us to write because he's so good at controlling us. He figures out the angle. When people started writing stories about FCS schools last season, look how soft the SEC is. And I started reporting it on this show. SEC played nobody in November, and they will continue to play nobody again this November. They will play nobody, and it's a shame that they're playing these weak FCS schools that you know they're going to steamroll. Like, Georgia Cumberland is not about to beat Alabama. They're not, okay? Like 98% of the time, these schools lose. Why are you all playing them? You know what I mean? It's crazy to me. But Nick Saban flipped the story on us. Nick Saban started yelling about how dare we underestimate the school that's got a 2% chance of winning. That just the statistics and the data tell us this school has got a 2% chance of beating you. And that's just if we average out all the SEC schools playing all the FCS schools historically. Not if we just take Alabama. Because if we just take Alabama, that number is much, much lower than 2%. How did Nick Saban do that? It's like a Jedi mind trick. He just flipped the story on us. And it was so cool, we all rolled with it. Nobody else can do stuff like that. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thanks for listening today and giving me just a little piece of your time. I'm talking about how apparently Nick Saban is a Jedi master. He just controls the media, and he's done this latest thing where he's talking about the best jobs in the SEC. Like, what other schools are the best jobs in the SEC? And he said it has to be Georgia. Okay, and I understand why he would say that. Georgia's got a lot of things going for it. You've got a new coach, defensive-minded coach. You've got Jacob Eason coming in. He's supposed to be a great quarterback, great young prospect. The running game Looks like it might be strong again if Chubb can get healthy. But even if he doesn't get healthy, when you've got guys like Sony Michel behind him, like you're not doing poorly. Like this is going to be a good school. George is going to be good. But George is not the best job in the SEC. You know what the best job in the SEC is? Alabama. And Nick knows this. What are you, serious? You just came off a national title. But we're going to write the story that Nick wants us to write about how Nick Saban thinks that Georgia's the best job in the SEC. And with that, he's already gained the psychological edge on the rest of the conference. And we wrote the story for him. You're not going to pull one over on me, Saban. Because we see this kind of misinformation happen all the time, okay? It's not, I didn't just make this up, okay? Here's how misinformation works in sports. You see it a lot with NFL scouts, for instance. One NFL scout this week called Cardell Jones a poor man's Jamarcus Russell, which is absurd for so many reasons, right? One, Cardell Jones is going to be taken in the mid-rounds. Jamarcus Russell was a number 1 overall pick. By all accounts, Cardell Jones is not a lazy guy. He's not in love with that purple drink, the codeine syrup that Jamarcus Russell apparently loved to sip on. And he's a funny, goofy guy. He's funny. Like the most that you learn about Cardell Jones's personality, like the worst thing that Cardell Jones has ever done was severely destroyed a kid with cancer in a game of NCAA. Just beat the kid in the game. He beat a kid very badly in a video game, man. That's the worst thing he's ever done that we know of. That's nothing like it's nothing like Jamarcus Russell, okay? He didn't get hooked on codeine syrup. But we're talking about a guy that's being called a poor man's Jamarcus Russell. Now, why would an NFL scout do this? Well, because the media is going to take that story and run with it, because it's a smear story and we love to dwell on the negative, and the negative is highly entertaining, and so we run away with it. And so the scouts put that out in the wind. The media grabs it, runs with it, and reports it ad nauseum. What ends up happening is the hope is that Cardell Jones's draft stock might plummet a little bit, and you can snag Cardell Jones where originally you weren't going to. Maybe turn some teams off of him. Oh, he's a poor man's Jamarcus Russell? Oh no, we can't draft that. Because let's be honest, like who would draft a poor man's Jamarcus Russell after seeing how Jamarcus Russell turned out? Right? Who would do that? Willingly. No, nobody would. Nobody would actually do that. But a scout is doing all of this manipulating, and the media is just dancing like puppets on a string. Well, that's what Nick Saban does. That's exactly what he does. We fell for his trap. We're doing it again, okay? The best job to have in the SEC, if you could have that job, is Alabama. Okay? It has been Alabama for the last several years. It will continue to be Alabama until such a time as Nick Saban is no longer there. And even then, just based purely on reputation built, it might still be Alabama. Let's not be ridiculous here. Okay? Let's cool it. You're listening to AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, and you're a Titans fan. John Robinson might not be done working his magic yet. He might go free agency on us. The Carolina Panthers let Josh Norman walk. They had originally slapped him with the franchise tag. They rescinded the franchise tag, and now Josh Norman can go do whatever it is that he wants to do with regards to trying to make himself some more money, which I'm never mad at. I am never mad at dudes trying to make more money. Keep getting them checks, my friend. $18 million is the asking price of Josh Norman. Now, I'm a Redskins fan. I'd love to see him go to Washington. But all of that aside, Tennessee has got an opportunity to continue piling on some crazy momentum. Crazy momentum. They've got it rolling over in Tennessee. They bring in a haul of draft picks. They've already got their franchise quarterback. If you can add Josh Norman to the top of that, oh, man. This team could be the best team in the AFC South, which as a division is getting stronger. I am excited, okay? Might be some Titans football worth watching finally. because it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great. Another news story I want to talk to you about. There's a high school basketball player. Okay. People were looking at him, thought that there was an opportunity. This guy could be a stud. He looked fantastic. He looked amazing. He looked like a grown man playing amongst boys. It was a high school in Canada. Pulling the story up right now. High school in Canada. And this man looked like a grown man playing amongst boys. And do you know why he looked like a grown man playing amongst boys? Because he was a grown man playing amongst boys. That's right. A man who is 30 years old playing high school basketball. He was playing high school basketball. I cannot even begin to explain to you at what level of absurdity that is. It is an incredibly high level. Okay, how is it that nobody knew that this guy was a grown man? That was a grown man playing basketball with children and clearly dominating them because he was 30 years old, passing himself off as 17. Come on, man. Like, you can't make this stuff up. You can't. Oh, man, I just read a report that made me really sad. And I'll talk to you about that later. But, okay. Pulling it up. Hold on. And we're gonna talk about a few other things a little later on. But how is it that a man is 30 years old and nobody notices that he's 30 in a high school? Now, I'm 26, okay? And I have trouble growing facial hair. I am not very old looking. In fact, I look very young. I once walked into the mall kind of late, and a police officer asked me to show him my ID because he wanted to see how old I was. He thought I was too young. I am 26 years old. I could pass for much younger than 26 years old. However, this guy, you got to see a picture of this guy, and I'll post it on the Facebook page because you have to see this. This man is a man. Like, it's not really, like, I'm looking at the picture of him and it's not really all that ambiguous to me. Like, maybe it's just me and maybe hindsight is 2020. And like, now that I know that he's 30, but the dude is 6'9". He's playing for Catholic Central High School and he's passing himself off as 17. Like, I can't pass myself off as 17. I could pass myself off as younger, but I'm not passing myself off as 17. No, sirree. He's been posing as a 17-year-old. The Catholic Central High School boys basketball team located in Windsor, Ontario, has a pretty good player in Jonathan Nicola. Here writes Tom Lee of Deadspin. The 6'9" center is so good that his coach put together the workout video above because, as he told the Windsor Star last year, Nicola had a shot at going pro. The dream is probably dead, though, because Nicola's apparently a grown man. Nicola, who is from South Sudan, has been arrested for violating the Immigration Refugee Protection Act and is believed to be 30 years old. For the last 6 months, Nicola has been posing as a 17-year-old student and was even living with his basketball coach. So this is the part of the thing that I don't understand. First off, that sounds like some kind of weird, wacky movie. A 30-year-old man goes to high school and pretends to be a 17-year-old basketball player. One. But two, how is it that you are living with a 30-year-old man and don't realize that this guy's got the mannerisms of a 30-year-old man? Because I'm 26 and I just don't even have mannerisms that I used to have at 17. There's no way a dude is 30 years old and he's living with his coach and his coach doesn't know he's 30. Really? Like, either that coach is really dumb, which I don't want to believe, or this guy needs to get some kind of Academy Award for basically playing the part of a 17-year-old convincingly for 6 months. Andrew Garfield in the newer Spider-Man movies played a teenage Peter Parker and couldn't sell it. And he's an actor that they pay to act. Man, somebody get this guy into the movies. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And we'll talk more about Tiger Woods and some basketball, too, next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community, offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mentioned you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds has got on his sunglasses. He's buying so many glittering diamonds today, he's almost going blind looking at the haul. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, come on in today. He'll give you top dollar on a sparkling field of diamonds, an ocean of value that he wants to convert into cash for you. Come on in today, sell your diamonds. You'll get the biggest wad of dollars anywhere for your gleaming diamond. Rick Diamonds Gold and Diamonds. Rick wants to meet you in person today. Diamonds, Rick loves them. He'll take your diamonds and gold and you'll walk out with ready-made money in your pocket. Hundreds, 50s, 20s, and $10 bills. Cash, cash, cash at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Rick Davis, Brainerd Road near Eastgate Town Center. Cash, 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 and more cash.
Scattered showers will continue to move through the nighttime hours. Lots of clouds, lows only near 60. For Friday, passing showers will move off to the east later into the day, highs into the mid-70s. For the weekend, though, look for lots of sunshine, nice and pleasant with highs upper 70s to lower 80s. Get ready for the 20th Annual National Cornbread Festival in South Pittsburgh this weekend, featuring lots of live music, arts and crafts, food, and much more. For details, nationalcornbread.com. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. County Commissioner Warren Mackey had harsh words for his fellow commissioners. He said, "A crisis is taking place in our city. Nobody wants to say anything about it. We have to recognize the problem and begin to do something about it." He said the main problem is that our homes, our schools, and our churches are collapsing. Children are seeing violence everywhere they look, in cartoons and games. He said somebody is feeding our kids guns and drugs. We need a way to instill principles and values and good decision-making. The county mayor, Jim Coppinger, took some offense at the remarks that Mackey made, saying that officials are constantly working behind the scenes to deal with gang violence and other issues plaguing the city. The city of Cleveland and Bradley County will be holding an active shooter drill today. The purpose will be to make sure that first responders are ready for any contingency. Again, it's a citywide active shooter drill for the city of Cleveland and Bradley County. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Life recommendation, AliExpress. That's all I'm going to say about that. Nick Saban controls the media. We just need to accept this as just a general fact of our lives, that he is in full control of stories concerning him. He gets out in front of them very quickly, and then he just sort of puts out what he wants out there. So by saying that George is the best job, like, I don't know what he's really getting at. I think he wants to get into Kirby Smart's head. And, you know, I've talked about it numerous times on the show, and I'm not backing down from this. I think George has got a little brother complex. I think Georgia wants what Alabama has. And ultimately, they've gone out of great lengths to be Alabama. They've done a very good job of imitating Alabama, and I wouldn't be shocked to do that. And again, that's not a knock against Georgia, because if you don't really want to be Alabama at some part of your core, something's wrong with you. They're really cool. They win a lot. Their coach is a superstar, and they win a lot. Like, there's nothing to not like about Alabama. So I think they're getting in the head of Georgia a little bit. That's the goal. I don't know if it'll actually work, but Nick Saban thinks it's worth a try, and the media went ahead and did his bidding, like somehow we always do. Don't know how that works. So there was a story, a long-form story released today on ESPN about Tiger Woods. It's called The Secret History of Tiger Woods. It's a very, very good story, very well written. It's written by Wright Thompson of ESPN, and it's a great story, and it's interesting because, like, it doesn't have a ton of it's everything about the story isn't new. It's not a bunch of stuff you never knew about Tiger Woods, but there are a few bombshells in the story that if you didn't know, it just adds a little bit more to this story about Tiger Woods, which is possibly one of the most interesting stories in sports, because there's only two stories in sports that consistently we love. The unpredictable rise to greatness, we love that story, okay? When a team comes out of nowhere and rises to greatness, we love that story. That was Syracuse this year. They didn't play particularly well during the regular season, but they get hot. They make it to the Final Four. We love that story, right? Like the overcoming adversity. We never get tired of that story. But the other side of that is that we love downfalls. We love to watch great people fall. And honestly, this is a little bit part of our scandal culture that we like so much. We don't just like to watch great people fall, or great athletes fall. We like to watch great people fall. We like to watch Nixon fall. Scandal culture, I think, in America was born during the Watergate scandal. Watching the president of the United States, this person who's supposed to represent basically the best of the American ideal because he's chosen by the people, having him be brought back down to earth because he is behaving like a crook, that was huge. And ever since then, we've been trying to recreate that. There's a reason why we slap gate onto the end of every scandalous story ever. Deflate gate. Bounty gate. We can't help it. Spy gate. We just slap gate onto the end of every scandal because the Watergate scandal was the one that started it all. Now, it doesn't make any sense to do that because Watergate was just a hotel. You just lamely slapping gate on the back end of stuff that doesn't make it a scandal. You just need to become more original in naming your scandals. That's just laziness. Yeah, I don't know what to call this. Yeah, let's just slap gate at the end of it. They were spying on the other team. You couldn't call it the I Spy scandal. You have to call it Spygate. I just came up with that off the top of my head. Like, just a little bit of originality, please, if you could. But we love the downfall of great people and great teams. That's why Deflategate had everybody's attention, because it looked for a moment like, did Tom Brady cheat? Did the Patriots cheat? This is a great team. That's a great player, a great man. Is he going to tip over? And then Tom Brady did the thing that Tom Brady always does, where A, he got away, and B, he then supernovaed and played like his best season ever, like as he always does. Anytime that Tom Brady gets caught in some kind of scandal, he then goes out and plays the best season he has ever played. I don't know why. It's just kind of his thing. So, like, we love to see that. So Tiger Woods, possibly. Nobody has fallen from a higher place with a harder landing than Tiger Woods. And we love that story. I think we like to mourn it a little bit. I know I do, because Tiger Woods was, and I'm not the only one of my favorite golfers. And if you didn't like Tiger Woods, you like to root against him. He was worth it. That's how much Tiger Woods was worth to the game of golf. And there's something about his fall that is both confusing and somehow, the more pieces and details you find in the story, inevitable. And this article adds more to that story. It sort of paints Tiger Woods as a very awkward, weird loner in a way that makes a ton of sense. Here's the beginning of a joke. It sounds like the beginning of a joke. Derek Jeter, Michael Jordan, and Tiger Woods walk into a bar. But what happens next is not a joke. And I'll read you an excerpt from the story, because I can't really do it justice. I can't really do it justice. Here's an excerpt from the story about the time that Tiger Woods and Derek Jeter and Michael Jordan walked into a bar. The sexual bravado hid his awkwardness around women. One night he went to a club in New York with Derek Jeter and Michael Jordan. Jeter and Jordan circulated, talking with ease to one beautiful woman after another. Both declined to comment about the episode. At one point, Tiger walked up to them and asked the question that lives in the heart of every junior high boy and nearly every grown man too. What do you do to talk to girls? Jeter and Jordan looked at each other, then back at Tiger, sort of stunned. Go tell him you're Tiger Woods, they said. Which should seem obvious, but at the same time, I guess it's not. Right? And Tiger Woods is a guy that, when you look at athletes, right, that the athletes can be geniuses too. And you could be a genius at anything. I believe it's Malcolm Gladwell that wrote about that 10,000 hour rule. If you spend 10,000 hours doing anything, any one singular thing, you will be certifiably a genius at that thing. And so it's about getting your 10,000 hours in at whatever thing you want to be great at. It's a great lesson, kids. Go try it. You want to be a great painter? 10,000 hours. You want to be a great writer? You want to be a great basketball player? 10,000 hours. Great football player? 10,000 hours of practice. Not all at once, obviously. Over time. But get that in. And Tiger Woods has. And you look at other players, athletes around the sporting world, Kobe Bryant and even Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter. These guys are considered geniuses at the games that they played, and yet Tiger Woods is seen here almost fitting more of that profile of the genius that you very often see. He's kind of a loner. He's kind of awkward. He's kind of mysterious even. You just can't quite understand him, and he's a little bit weird and seen as a little bit odd, and Tiger fits that better than Jeter and Jordan do. And there's probably multiple reasons for this, right? One, Tiger Woods didn't have siblings. It was Tiger, and it was Tiger. Tiger was with his father. He played golf. That's what he did. Okay? And he did that a lot, and he did it very well from a very early age. Okay? I think that plays into that. If you look at other athletes in other sports, their sports are team sports. You play the game of baseball with others. You play the game of basketball with others. So you learn how to socialize. You learn how to interact with others. And also, another thing to note about Tiger Woods and the difference between him, Jeter, and Jordan is Derek Jeter wasn't the greatest baseball player from the earliest age ever. Like, Derek Jeter had some failures early on in his career, baseball career. Sure, they were like little league, middle school failures, but, you know, still early on. Michael Jordan, the story about how he was famously cut from his high school basketball team. And so you get these failures early on, and it teaches you to be a normal person. Honestly, failing teaches you to be a normal person because it's something that we all do. We all fail. It's going to happen to you. It's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to everyone. And Tiger Woods, it never happened. At least not early enough. Tiger Woods did not fail early on. He was incredibly good at golf for basically his entire life. There was never a point where he was not ever the best person in his age group until eventually he was the best golfer in the world and stayed there for a long time. Like, Tiger's the best. And he has been the best his whole life. And it's interesting because I look at a guy like LeBron in a similar fashion. Like, LeBron never had the I was bad. Now, LeBron had things growing up in Ohio, growing up in the area that LeBron grew up in. LeBron grew up in an area where statistically he shouldn't have been able to make it to the NBA. And certainly the intelligence level of his was questioned because living in the inner city, people always question those things about you, which is unfair, by the way. You can be intelligent, live in an urban environment. It's just an unfair stigma that we have. But LeBron James is a guy that had people doubt him early on because of where he grew up and who his mother was, and that his father left, and that statistically the odds were against LeBron. All right, until you realize, like, this guy's genetically is just like the best basketball player we've ever seen. He's probably the best athlete we've ever seen. If LeBron wanted to play any sport that he wanted to play, he could have played anything. He could have played hockey if he wanted to, and I think he would have been fantastic at it. But he didn't. He played basketball, and I think that is something that LeBron keeps with himself. Like, failure is a thing. He's had the failures where people said LeBron can't close in the fourth quarter and all of those things in his career. But LeBron's like the next closest guy to that in terms of, I was always told I was great from childhood, and I still haven't failed. Maybe our next guy closest to that now is Bryce Harper of the Nationals, where I am just fantastic, and people have been telling me this my entire life. I don't know what it's like to fail, and I don't know what it's like to interact with others. But again, Bryce Harper plays baseball, which is a team sport, and so he knows how to interact with people. And so it's interesting that you see this thing with Tiger Woods where the personification of him as being kind of weird and kind of being alone and kind of being awkward. That's a weird personification to see him in hindsight. You know, because he was such a transformative figure to the game of golf. The reason why guys like Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth are making anywhere near the money that they're making is because Tiger Woods made golf so popular that people tuned in to watch golf. The purses of individual tournaments grew during the time that Tiger Woods was playing golf. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose, and some more information has come out about the decline of Tiger Woods and everything that happened between the death of his father and the beginning of his scandal that started with his wife and the golf club and then the car accident. And it's one of the stories that's most interesting to me to revisit. Like, every time we learn more Tiger Woods stuff, like, I can't get past it because Tiger Woods is such an interesting, fascinating case to me. I'm interested in him as a person as well, but his entire story is so bizarre. How could a guy that good become that bad that quickly? The downfall was not just a social downfall, but it was an actual downfall and deterioration of his game as well. That wasn't just pure old age because it happened so quickly. I think now you can factor in the age, but you couldn't immediately. You were like, any moment Tiger Woods is going to bounce back and be the great Tiger Woods of old. And at some point, one by one, Tiger fans just had to start giving up on the guy and just going like, he's not going to win another one. Like, there's not another major forthcoming for Tiger Woods. I don't necessarily believe that. He's taking a year off right now. He probably could come back and win another major, but in all likelihood, not in all likelihood, really, that Jack Nicklaus record of the most majors, he's not getting that now. Where there was a point where we all thought he's breaking the record. Where if we thought it was a foregone conclusion. If you thought he wasn't going to break the record, you were the crazy person. And now you'd be crazy to think otherwise, which is insane. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. I want to talk a little bit about the UFC. Conor McGregor, interesting dude. He had a whole thing where Conor McGregor is great at making money. Let me start off here. If you could make money as good as Conor McGregor makes money, you'd be filthy rich. Like, everybody in your life would hate you, but you'd be fantastically rich. It's a shame that real life doesn't work like sports work. Because if real life worked like sports work, man, that would make life way more interesting. Here's what Conor McGregor did. Conor McGregor, who was set to fight in UFC 200, and he retired on Twitter, basically. He said a lot of things. He sounded regretful, and then he retired on Twitter. And then he did this really cool thing today where he unretired on Facebook. And I have so many questions and not enough time to answer these questions. The first question, what is the use of social media there? Twitter is easier to retire on, but you need Facebook to unretire. He said he wasn't retired. He wants to fight in UFC 200. Conor McGregor, we all thought we saw the end of Conor McGregor, right? Like, he gets in that last fight. He more or less gets knocked out by Nick Diaz, who's much larger than him. Like, that matchup wasn't great, but for some strange reason, Conor McGregor built this gigantic aura around himself where we thought, this guy's not beatable. And what ended up happening was he got beat, and everyone's like, well, that's it for the UFC. And in that same fight, Holly Holm loses, and we're like, oh, the UFC's losing stars left and right. And I told you, the UFC's not finished. There's going to always be more stars. That you can't, it's a fighting sport, okay? Rivalries develop. If a bunch of people keep fighting over and over again, and these fights keep going the distance, you're going to find yourself with stars again. And lo and behold, Conor McGregor has got himself back into the news again by retiring on Twitter and unretiring on Facebook. And you can't do that in your job. I can't do that in my job. I can't go to Confederate Mike or Mr. Tulis and tell them, hey, I retire. I'm done with this radio business. I don't like it here. You're not very nice. I don't know, whatever made up excuse I would come up with, right? And then the next day, first off, I would tweet him at them. You can tweet Hot News Talk Radio. You can tweet at Hot News Radio. Like, if I just tweeted at Hot News Radio, this is Keon Rose of Clutch with Keon Rose, because that's obviously I would retire pretentiously. I wouldn't just retire. Are you kidding? I retire from this radio business. I don't like it. I don't know if that's more than 140 characters. It probably is, but you get my point. And then the next day, go to the Hot News Talk Radio Facebook page and leave a 3-paragraph, 1-page paper, essentially, about all the hardships in my life and about how I got distracted and how the other day I stubbed my toe and it made me think and realize, boy, I sure am gifted in life and blessed to be able to do this radio thing. And then I get to unretire. You can't do that. Like, you're an accountant. You can't retire from your accounting firm on Twitter and then unretire on Facebook. Like, real life doesn't work like sports work sometimes. And it's just hilarious to me. Like, the only thing you can do is sit back and laugh at how preposterous the notion is of a man retiring on one form of social media, one which, by the way, has a 140 character restriction. Okay? You type more than 140 characters, that tweet does not even get sent. He retired on one form of social media and then logged into a completely different form of social media, not even 24 hours later, to unretire. Nobody in the world can do stuff like that except fighters. Nobody else in the world can do stuff like that. And part of it too is that Conor McGregor is messing with Dana White. Like, Dana White can't get rid of Conor McGregor. He's a walking, talking cash cow who just brought himself back into relevance. I mean, it's amazing. Conor McGregor is like the Terminator, man. Like, he's never going away. If you can Facebook unretire yourself and launch yourself back into the public eye, I applaud you, sir. I applaud you. That is hard work. Somebody give the man a prize. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Conor McGregor, man. Wanted to talk a little bit about Texas A&M. I think I like where they are this season defensively. I think that they're going to do a lot of great things on the defensive side of the ball. My favorite thing about Texas A&M too is that historically they've been a very good defensive team, like throughout the history of that school, going all the way back to when they were in the Southwestern Conference. And they were a powerhouse defensively there throughout their years in the Big 12. Like, the Big 12 has never been known as like a big defensive school. You don't now the Big 12 is even more ridiculous in their lack of defense that they play. But they've never been like a big defensive school. But at the same time, A&M dominated the Big 12 as a defensive school. Like, they were the top of defense in that conference. And when they made the shift over to the SEC, what we all learned was good for the Big 12 ain't that great in the SEC. And then Texas A&M did a really amazing thing. They actually got themselves in a position to where they could compete defensively with a lot of schools. When Johnny Manziel beat Alabama, when Johnny Football beat Alabama, they were a very good defensive school. And I'm citing this article from Saturdays Down South on this because this team could be Kevin Sumlin's best defensive team. Article written by Rebel 1048 on Saturdays Down South. They're a very good college football website. They basically cover the SEC very well. I would highly recommend them if you're a fan of SEC football or ACC football. I think they're very good and very knowledgeable. They do a fantastic job of covering stuff like this. I think this might be one of their best defensive teams. I completely agree with the article. They found a way to compete in the SEC defensively. Their issue has been trying to keep a consistent offense and a consistent quarterback, especially last season. They did have a lapse a few years ago, but 2012, they were fantastic. And they've had a few great defensive players graduate and enter the NFL. And I think that we're kind of coalescing here for one more great college football season from the Texas A&M Aggie defense. Add to the fact that they bring Trevor Knight into the fold to be their starting quarterback from Oklahoma. Look, Trevor Knight's not the greatest guy ever, but he could get the job done, and he does have a lot of experience at the quarterback position, so it's better than bringing in some freshmen and redshirting him, right? I think Texas A&M might surprise some folks this year in an SEC West that's already kind of loaded. Thank you for listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you for joining me today and giving me just a little slice of your time. You know that I appreciate you. And remember, y'all, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240. Shake, shake, shake it at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. The most delicious and unique milkshakes. How about this for delicious and different? Add freshly cooked bacon to any milkshake.
Is that even legal?
You bet your milkshake and booty it is. Chocolate caramel bacon shake. Coffee caramel shake. All hand blended. Shake, shake, shake it. Down at Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Just about any flavor shake that you can imagine.